had the memorial service, I had prepared a speech. I mean, I'm used to being in front of a camera and so on. We did it on Zoom. And I had this great speech that I wrote, and I had picked out a photo of my husband. I had been very careful. I cropped it the right way. It looked really cool. And everything was fine. I'm Jewish, and the rabbi was talking, and it was fine. And then they put the picture that I had cropped up, and I lost it. I completely lost it. I started to scream, take the picture down, take the picture down. I shut off the computer. I ran to the couch. I started pounding the couch and screaming and crying. And then I ran to the wall. I said, I'm going to put my head through the wall. I can't live without him. But as I ran to the wall, I passed the bar, which had a bottle of bourbon. By the time I said to myself, listen, I can always put my head through the wall. Let me have a drink first. So by the time I got out the glass, got out the ice, got out the bourbon, got out the vermouth and the cherries, right, and made the drink, I'd already calmed down. And by the time I drank it, and then my phone, all my friends were calling and saying, you are right, you are right. So I got through that night. The next day I got up to make coffee. I put in the coffee filter. I ground up the coffee. I put in the coffee. I did everything, put in the water. I come back and the kitchen is flooded with coffee. I forgot to put the pot underneath it. So it went on like that for like about maybe 2 weeks, but I had to shoot my program. I had two thoughts. One was that I could never live without him and that I would kill myself when he died. And I think that, I don't know the age of your viewers, but I think that a lot of women who are madly in love with their husband in a long-term marriage have the same feelings. They cannot live without them. And I had a cachet of sleeping pills because I was absolutely convinced that I could not live without him.
How long were you married?
40 years.
Wow.
I also at the same time thought, well, if I don't want to kill myself, I better have a plan B, something that totally engrosses me, that totally involves me, and that makes me write, which is not something I was ever terribly skilled at. That would demand new things, because I knew that I had to, if my husband died, I knew that I would have to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I would do something that was challenging, really challenging. Otherwise, I would probably kill myself. So that was my plan B, and it worked absolutely fine. And the amazing thing is that in all of this, I have not had a single moment of depression.
I have impression that you need this movement in your life all the time. You learn to be very active, and you don't want to stop. You feel you have so much energy still,
Yeah.
and you want to
Sure.
use it. But tell me a little bit about the show.
So the show,
Badass Woman 50 Plus, beautiful name.
Well, actually, I'm going to be 87, so
We'll talk about it.
50 plus is my granddaughter. You could be my granddaughter. Well, we wanted to build a network of people that were 50 plus who were committed to hanging tough. That hence the name Badass Women.
Mm-hmm.
To hanging tough. And hanging tough is women who want to remain active, they want to remain vital, they want to be. So you have to be a badass, you need to be curious.
What are the biggest challenges that women over 50 face today in today's world? I mean, that's also the subject of your show.
Visibility. And staying relevant. Mm-hmm. And that's visibility is a challenge. And one of the ways I've been talking about how to stay visible, actually is what I've been saying. You have to belong to groups. You have to belong to organizations, whether it's the church, whether it's a synagogue, whether it's a dance class, an exercise class, a private club, whatever it is. I think the only way to stay visible is you have to be involved with other people, and you have to be involved with people who share your interests. So You have whatever your interest is cooking, but join a cooking group. It doesn't matter. That's how you stay visible. My mom lied about her age, and she made herself, she was actually, I think she was 6 years older than my dad, but she made herself 6 years younger.
Oh,
So when she died, we had to have a birth certificate. We found had right. So we found a birth certificate, and we were all. But that's nothing. And just think of the complications of that. If she lied that much about her age, she had to have all her brothers and sisters' ages had to be changed to us, and she had to tell them. Okay.
oh my God.
And it's okay, because in those days, women lied about their age. Like any man that met a woman, automatically he asked her age, which was impolite. You know, he would automatically add 5 years onto that. I mean, men still do. I know men that tell me, if I meet a woman, she tells me that she's 40, I think she's 45. Okay.
You always say your age and you're honest about it and feel comfortable. And I have really impression that you're proud of it, and you should be.
Well, I lived this long. You know, I never expected to live this long, and I'm still going strong. So it's like, sure, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of being vital, and why shouldn't I be? That's, you know, and I think in one of our programs we talk about age shaming, that it's the elephant in the room. The world and the fashion world, the beauty world, absolutely age shames women.
Thank you
They
for that.
they make them feel that. I mean, if you see some of the plastic surgeries and the Botox lips and the things that women have done to themselves, some have died. Women that were almost my Joan Rivers. I mean, for Christ's sakes, at her age, she underwent the knife. That's insane. She died, right? So she died. So they age shame you, make you feel that getting old to be shamed about. And women buy into it, which is one of the reasons that I like to tell my age. And staying healthy starts at your age. You know, you don't start staying healthy at 87. You start staying healthy when you're younger, and you properly, you don't drink, you do the things you're supposed to do, you exercise, you do all the things. There was some research that was done, I think, back in the 80s of middle-aged people in their 40s, 45. And then they followed up with them in 2000. And of course, the people who were overweight, their Medicare bills were the highest. They were ill. So it's very important. If you want to stay healthy, you have to start young. I was one of those women that people turned around to look at all my life, up until one
I
day.
still do. I'm sure.
No. Up until one day. And the only thing that I had ever exercised, the only muscle that I had ever exercised for discipline was exercise, physical exercise. And that's because it had to do with my looks, right? Everything came easy. You know that when you're good looking and you're young, everything comes easy. And you can turn this down. There's going to be something tomorrow. And then one day I'm on a bus and I notice something is different. And I can't figure out what the hell it is that's different, but something is different. And this keeps going on for a while. And all of a sudden I realized when I got on these buses, or wherever I went, heads were no longer turning. I was 40.
Really?
I was still good looking, but they were not turning. And I remember being on Bloomingdale's, which was a big store in Manhattan. And I was on the escalator going down. And it looked to me like all the women on the escalator coming up were 20 and blonde. I was 40 and I wasn't married. Okay. And so I was like, oh my God. So I went to about 3 weeks of getting stoned, crying, breaking things.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I was that kind of vanity. And then I remembered something that I had read. And I had read that it takes 66 days, more or less, to create pathways in the brain to be disciplined, depending on the challenge of the discipline that you're trying to learn.
but that's true. Really, it worked.
Well, Malcolm Gladwell has subsequently in recent years written about At any rate, I knew that. And I also knew that I was curious enough about things that I was not going to let the fact that the world was not stopping because I walked into a room end my life. And I started getting disciplined. And then I went back to graduate school and I left the theater and became a psychoanalyst. Money,
Oh,
money. It is very important for a woman to have her own money. Money is crucial.
it's
And the older you get, the more important it is.
mm-hmm.
So
Thank
you
you.
start saving money very young, which I did. When I was young, when I was in my 20s, I decided I was an actress, but you don't make a lot of money. There are lots of months that you're not working. So I bought a bunch of check rooms. In those days, people still wore hats and they had coats and stuff like that, and they checked their things. So I had them in 4 different places. And I had girls working for me, and I would work in one place. So I'd come home at night, and I lived in a fourth floor walk up. And I'd have coins that I would have collected from all these different, you can imagine how many coins I had. And I'd get home and I'd sit on the bed and I would count out my coins. And the next day I'd go to the bank and I'd put all that money in the bank except what I needed for rent and food. I did not have a credit card until I was over 40. I
Wow.
saved my money because I grew up in the Depression. And I would go to my mother's wallet on a Friday, open it up, and there'd be nothing in it but a penny.
Mm,
And so I knew the value of money. And I see young women today, and they don't.
they don't.
They squander their money endlessly on clothing that doesn't even last, and and they take their power because when you have money, you don't need to go to anyone for anything. One of the big changes that I see, and again, it comes back to money. I think that 30 years ago, women were a lot more conservative about money than they are today. What I see
Mm-hmm.
today, young women seem to need a new dress for every morning,
True.
every day, new shoes every day. It's insane because you take away your power when you don't have money. And if you didn't buy that dress and you put that dress, she had enough money to put it in the stock market. I mean, that's what I did. You want a lesson? You want to know how I'm comfortable now that I can have an apartment in New York and an apartment here? I saved my money and I put it in the stock market. I'm talking to women
I know, and I
and,
love it.
and I care about women. And for young women, money, discipline and money will get you through everything. Exercise is crucial. I mean, I would normally spend 2.5 to 3 hours a day in the gym because it's not just lifting weights, it's not just aerobics, there's also stretching. It's all that. It's crucial. You have to be able to stay healthy, and it's your diet. You can't eat junk. You can't eat packaged food. You got to look at labels. You have to do that. I always did that. And I think I did that because my husband had died. One of my husbands died very young. He was 38. I was 33 when I was with him. And at that was the point where I said, oh my God, I am going to stay so healthy. And I started eating organic. Back then, nobody knew what organic was. That's where I spent my money. Well, let me put it this way. Anytime I have a negative thought, I immediately focus on something else. And we have a whole program. Your viewers should go to YouTube and watch our shows because we have programs that teach you really what to do and how to do those things, how to divert yourself and how to change your focus and how to move in a positive direction. And it becomes habitual. People want to be around you when you're a happy person. We also talk about, when you talk about optimism, you have to be careful that you're not talking about unrealistic optimism.
Okay.
Realistic optimism is a killer because for example, and right now, if you said to yourself, well, I'm going to be out, this is going to be over next week, you're going to be very depressed. Admiral Stockdale actually has really inspired me. And what he said was that he had been a prisoner of war and in solitary confinement in Vietnam for like 6 or 7 years. And when he was asked how he survived, he said, well, let me tell you how the others didn't survive.
Ah.
They didn't survive because they were unrealistic optimists.
Can you please finish the sentence, aging but dangerous, for us? What does it mean for you?
For me, what it means is pretty much the same thing that badass women mean. It means that aging but dangerous because we're committed to hanging tough. Well, we're lucky as women because we always have a network of real friends. And one of the things that they're writing about now is that how men, because their friendships are really based on talking about sports, which really isn't going on, are starting to realize the vacuum in their life in terms of intimacy, that they really don't know about intimacy, talking about feelings the way we talk about feelings. Lots of old buildings, really, really gorgeous. And I remember that I was sitting having coffee with my husband, and there was a woman over there, and she was dressed in a suit, and the suit was cut down to here. And nobody was dressing like that yet. And I went, oh my God, that's coming to New York. Your generation, forget it. At 85, you will look like 65. Your generation is going to live way longer because you know more. Look what's happened. I mean, we know more. You will live longer. They will have more things. There'll be all kinds of things that they'll put you in some kind of a box and you disintegrate and come back and look like 20 years younger. Who knows what they're going to invent in another 20, 30, 40 years. And you're going to be around for all that. So many of the actors in my age, they're exactly like me. I don't know any decrepit people. But you've got to remember something. All my friends are either in the theater or, okay, so it's a very different sensibility, very different sensibility. They're constantly working, constantly creating. So I don't know, I'm trying to think, do I know anybody? Oh, one of my friends, you got a minute for this? One of my friends, Pat Baldoff, he's a guy. And Pat's in his 80s somewhere, I don't know where he is. And they just made a film about him. Not about him, he played the part of somebody that couldn't remember where he was. He's a vibrant actor. And he played the part of man his age who couldn't remember where he was. He's in the streets of New York and he's going to the theater to perform and suddenly he doesn't know, was I going this way or was I going that way? You know this joke?
Which one?
There are three sisters, they live together. And one of the sisters is upstairs and she's trying to put on makeup or something and she forgets which hand she's supposed to use. So she calls in, come up and help me. I don't know if I was using my right hand or my left hand. And the sister says, sure, I'm coming up. And as she goes up the stairs, she stops in the middle and she goes, oh my God, was I going this way or was I going that way? So she calls the other sister downstairs and she says, younger, the other sister is my age, she's 87, and she calls the younger sister, because they're in their 90s, she calls the younger sister, she says, come and help me, I don't know if I'm going upstairs or downstairs. And the other sister says to herself, oh my God, thank God, I'll never be like that, knock on wood. And then she says, oh, I'll be up in a minute, somebody's at the door.
It will never happen to you.